Very good morning to you. We are coming to you live from the Nasrec Expo Centre, which is just south of Johannesburg, across the road from Soweto, for the 54th ANC National Conference. And those images that you saw were of the delegates literally just before they started voting last night. And it was one of those stop-start kind of scenarios. The nominees came through and then they were deciding, should we vote today or tomorrow morning? In the end, the delegates said, we'll vote all night if we have to.
Thankfully, I mean, I'm glad that they decided on that, because there is so much still to do. It's not just about voting in the leadership. There's policy decisions and lots of meetings to take. And during one of the very first press briefings, they said that this conference is ending on Wednesday night, no matter what. And so let's see what happens. But besides the song, and the song has been incredible because the singing has been telling. People have been looking for clues as to which person is supporting which person. And it's been quite great. But I think what was quite interesting was last night, just before that nomination took place, both of the crowds were singing the same song, but changing the name. So I think it was Pakama, Cyril, Pakama, and Nkosazana. So nobody actually knew who was singing for who. It was very confusing. So, because we couldn't hear the words of the song, we took to Twitter to find out who supports who. This came as no surprise. I mean, we've been seeing our Minister of Police, Fikile Mbalula, shouting out for NDZ since this campaign began. I mean, he's been putting out tweets that have been causing quite a lot of controversy with his support for Zuma. But here we go. This was his that he sent out last night or this morning. It was just voted for the Mother Princess NDZ. History beckons, dedication to all women, women power, Malibongwe. Well, that was our Minister of Police when he voted for NDZ. And a bit earlier, we spoke about it. I was trying to remember Zizi Kodwa's name. That's how confused and tired my brain is right now. But Zizi put out that tweet of his that I think we put on air. And he was saying, I am casting my vote for Comrade Ramaphosa for ANC president. Whatever happens, I trust he will restore confidence and inspire hope. It's early hours, but it's worth waiting.
Yeah.
So someone's going to have a job and someone isn't at the end of this process. Or is it? I mean, Peter asked a great question. When two boys are fighting on the field, they come together and suddenly they make up and everything's fine. Is it that simple during this process? Will everyone be friends afterwards?
From the two things that you've said, so the first one is, I think they will be hugging and peace, whatever, and in public. But we have seen that the impact of these bruising contests is that sometimes the relationships are so spent that people struggle to reconcile. And you know what actually rubs salt to the wound is that somebody's going to be without a job. So yes, we hug, we agree, we say we are united, but we must recall you as a premier, because when we succeeded in the conference, you defied us and didn't want to attend, and we knew that when we come from the national conference, we're coming for you. And these are, I mean, I'm using the Eastern Cape, for example, people who have been friends for a long time. So they took to Twitter, some of them, Facebook, social media, some of them, saying, we've been friends with this guy for a very long time, Ox Kamabuyane and Mlibo Koboshian in the Eastern Cape. Long-time friends who are so at odds with one another. It's not, it's in bad taste even in the public. So I don't think they're going to be sustainable relationships going forward. And I'm saying the driver is going to be allocation of jobs and opportunities.
How does a leader who comes in try and recapture the spirit of the movement is greater than I am, try and capture the spirit of I'm here to serve and not to receive? Because, the old ANC was about, I will go to jail for this movement. I am not getting paid for this by this movement. I am sacrificing family time for this movement. How does the new leader try and bring back that culture in the movement?
There are push and pull factors. So as far as, there needs to be an internal transformation process among leaders. And in fact, without that narrative and without successfully convincing South Africans that the ANC that emerges from this conference is transformed to the extent that it sees its role as serving the interests of the people of South Africa, it must forget about leading. But how it happens is through internal transformation, soul searching, which the ANC has been doing, but also building institutions, systems, and processes that create that. So, for example, in a system where the voting process can be manipulated such that people who are not genuine to the cause can emerge, there's arrogance of power that's likely to be entrenched. But in a system where true cadreship is the only means, true cadreship and performance is the only means by which I can amass enough support for me to be voted into office, then the tables are turned. I have to do it because the design and structure of the voting mechanism compels me. I have no other hope other than performing and being a true cadre. As long as there's still openness to manipulation of process, we're not going to get the inward transformation that's required to breed servant leadership.
Quite interesting. There's another tweet, and I keep referring to tweets because right now this is really the only news that one can look towards, because you are so far removed from the delegates and what's going on in their minds. So this is pretty much so their platform. Jackson Mthembu also took to Twitter. Did you see this one as well, Ranesh?
I have it on my phone.
I mean, it's saying basically, I voted for Ramaphosa and other 5 incorruptible leaders. My ANC conference, my vote is to save my ANC and the country. We must. These are strong words. Corruption, corruption, corruption. It's almost like, from what they are saying, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's faction stands for corruption, Ramaphosa's faction stands for no corruption. Is it that simple?
You know, I get very concerned when senior leaders of the ANC tweets, stuff like this. Obviously, Jackson Mthembu is, pretty senior within the ANC. He's part of the NEC as well. He's also the ANC chief whip in Parliament. And the fact that he's tweeted this, he's taking sides. And we're talking about the issue of unity. So how do you preach unity on one hand, and yet you're doing something factional on a social media platform such as Twitter? Then Zizi Kodwa as well. Okay, he was a little diplomatic, but then the police minister as well. He's a minister.
He hasn't been
He's
diplomatic.
An NEC member. He loves Twitter.
Yeah,
so how do you neutralize that environment, like we were talking about earlier about unity? And Peter, just to go back to your analogy of the 2 guys fighting and eventually they hug, but I remember this one African proverb that says, when 2 elephants clash, the only thing to suffer is the grass below. So I'm worried about the grass below, because what happens after conference? Remember, we still have the Jan 8 statement, we have the ANC NEC Lekgotla, we have the Jan 8 statement, and obviously more meetings before the State of the Nation address. And if I remember correctly, what happened post Polokwane? Obviously, there were 2 very distinguished camps. We had the Thabo Mbeki, slate of faction on one side. Then we had those who were, wanting Jacob Zuma to succeed and become president. What happened after Polokwane was the losers were convening all these secretive meetings, and even when Jacob Zuma was president, eventually voted in president, he even cited this. Comrades, you cannot do this. You need to rally behind the new leadership, and they weren't doing that. And we saw the manifestation of that months later when COPE was eventually formed, spearheaded by Mbazima Shilowa and Musiwa Lekota. Then obviously splits happened within that formation as well. So my concern, the so-called unity that the ANC is preaching, we're looking at Twitter. I want to watch that space where, those so-called secret meetings, will they happen? Won't they happen? Maybe they will discuss a splinter, a breakaway.
I mean, do they genuinely have an appetite to form a new party? Because, I think the EFF project probably is the only one that has succeeded. The others, there's proof, actually, that when you leave the ANC and form another party, the chances of succeeding are very poor. Who would want to do that to themselves?
One way or another, Peter, the momentum of self-destruction in the ANC has gained so much steam, it's on cruise control on a downward path. They have had learning moments where there is one repeating cycle. So whether or not it splits, for me, I think is inconsequential, because the ANC is split. What we have seen is that they go to an elective conference, a certain grouping emerges, they become vindictive and drive out those who were there before, and because they have to disrupt the patronage networks that existed before, then they form a coalition of the wounded, campaign, go to another election conference. So that's how.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will get back to these conversations, because right now everybody at home wants to know what else is in the headlines today.